solving a linear equation, or really any equation that involves fractions. So anytime you have an equation with fractions, it can be more difficult to go ahead and solve. So the first thing you can do is always just get rid of those fractions, whether they're part of the variable or not. So I first want to go through and find all the denominators. So in this case, the only ones that matter are the 3 and the 5, because everything else is just an implied 1. So I look at those denominators and I want to find the least common denominator. So the least common denominator for 3 and 5 is 15. So then I'm going to go ahead and actually multiply everything in the equation by that least common denominator, which is 15. So I'm going to multiply everything on the left by 15 and everything on the right by 15. So if I write it out, what we end up with is 15 times 1/3 x plus 15 times 4, which is equal to 15 times 2/5 minus 15 times 7x. And then because we multiplied by least common denominator, all of the denominators should cancel out. So if we look at the first one, you essentially have 15 over 1 times 1/3, and what happens is that both of them are divisible by 3, so the denominator becomes a 1, and the numerator becomes a 5. So this simplifies to 5x. 15 times 4, we don't have to worry about denominators, so we just get plus 60 is equal to, same thing here, I could put it over 1, and essentially what happens is that 15 divided by 5 simplifies, because they're both divisible by 5. So this becomes a 1, this one becomes a 3. So now my denominator is just a 1, so I don't need to write it. And in the numerator we have 3 times 2, so we get 6, minus, and then we multiply the 15 and the 7. So we get 105x. So once you get to this point, we've eliminated the fractions, so we can solve however we would normally solve. So in this case, I'm going to try to group everything with an x on one side, everything without on the other. So I might go ahead and add 105x to both sides. And that allows me to bring all the x's over to the left. And at the same time, I'm going to go ahead and subtract 60 from both sides to bring the numbers without a variable over to the right side. So plus 60 minus 60 cancels, and then the negative 105x and positive 105x cancels. And then if I combine the other terms, we get 110x is equal to negative 54. So the last step to solve for x, since it's x times 110, would be to divide. So let's go ahead here. I'm going to divide this side by 110, and then divide the right side by 110. And that leaves us with x is equal to negative 54 over 110. So this is our answer. The only other thing I might do is just simplify. So both are actually divisible by 2. So I'm going to divide the top and the bottom by 2. So negative 54 divided by 2 is going to be negative 26. 110 divided by 2 is 55. So that would be our answer in fraction form and simplified completely.